welcome to another episode of Get Lit. My name's Christina.
And I'm Colleen.
And today we are celebrating banned books because Banned Book Week is coming up and it goes from September 26th through October 2nd.
And we asked our staff what banned books they loved. And here's what they had to say.
Hello, and welcome to the Banned Book Week special. The book I chose, Go Ask Alice, by Anonymous. Let me just read you a quick little paragraph from the beginning. Yesterday, I bought this diary because I thought at last I'd have something wonderful and great and worthwhile to say. Something so personal that I wouldn't be able to share it with another living person, only myself. Now, like everything else in my life, it has become so much nothing. Go Ask Alice is a book written in diary form of a young teenage girl who, like many teenage girls, going to high school, want to fit in, have friends, be part of a group. So when she was invited to her very first party, she was so excited. And when she got to the party, she found that they were going to be playing a game called Who's Got the Button? So part of the game was they were each to take a glass of Coca-Cola off the tray and drink it in a circle as they were talking. Well, of course, the button refers to a tab of LSD, and she had one of the buttons. The diary goes on to talk about her drug use. First, the excitement and the feeling of that first high, and then the curiosity and the usage of other drugs to see, can I replicate that? Can it be better? Can it be worse? And then, of course, the ultimate, the downward spiral of addiction. This book was written in 1971. It had been on the American Library Association ban list for over 23 times, mostly in reference to sex, drug use, etc. It is a book that is as relevant today as it was 50 years ago. In reading the book, there is no real sense of time frame. You do not say, but this was 1970 and now it's 2021. A wonderful book, a cautionary tale. I still recommend it to young people, and they still come back thanking me for this particular recommendation. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Julie. I work here at the Scottsdale Civic Center Library, and for Banned Book Week, I chose And Tango Makes Three. It's a wonderful true story about two penguins in Central Park. They happen to be both male, but they raised an egg that needed a home and needed a family. Instead of being banned, I think we should kind of level our scale of humanity on it. Are we kind to one another? Do we take care of our community? Do we support one another? Do we lead with love? That's why I chose this one.
Hi everybody, it's Mike. I'm a library assistant over here at the Civic Center branch. My favorite banned book is Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. It's about a young man named Billy Pilgrim. He is a soldier in World War II and is captured by the Germans. But just before he's captured, he becomes unstuck in time and can see his whole life before him in seemingly random order. And along the way, he sees that he ends up being abducted by aliens that resemble 2-foot-tall toilet plungers. I love this book because it's so many things. It's an anti-war novel, and it's very funny. The humor is dark, but it's very funny. It showed me that a novel can be things that I already knew I'd like very funny, or it can incorporate science fiction elements, but it also can tackle very serious topics like war or the passage of time. It really blew my mind when I read it in high school.
Hi everyone, my name's Karen and I am a librarian assistant here at Scottsdale Civic Center, and I chose A Light in the Attic, Poems and Drawings by Shel Silverstein.
And this book was banned throughout the United States in the 80s and 90s because it promoted disobedience, and there were some other things that, like violence, suicide, and even cannibalism, that people thought the poems weren't fit for children to read. One of my favorites, I'm going to read it to you. It's probably disobedience is what it talks about, but how not to have to dry the dishes. If you have to dry the dishes, such an awful boring chore. If you have to dry the dishes, instead of going to the store, if you have to dry the dishes and you drop one on the floor, maybe they won't let you dry the dishes anymore. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stacy. I'm a page here at Scottsdale Public Library, and my favorite banned books is The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Alexei Sherman. And the reason I really like it is because he talks about his life when he was growing up on the reservation, Indian reservation, and like some of the struggles he had to go through. And it's kind of sad, but it's also, he makes it funny, and he adds like little cartoons, and which are kind of cute. But yeah, it really talks truthfully about his struggles and all the problems he had, especially when he went to a white high school off the reservation and tried to succeed there. So it's a really good book. I think there's a lot to relate to for teenagers.
Hey, it's Kate. I work here at Civic Center Library. I'm going to talk about a couple books that I love that happened to be banned books. Now, I know some people have been talking about why a book is banned. Others don't touch upon it, but I think you're probably interested to know why is a book banned. One thing to remember is that almost every book that's a classic has offended somebody somewhere down the line and has affirmed someone else down the line. There was a Pentecostal minister who was also a librarian who used to do motivational speaker engagements for libraries, and he came to tell us every public library should have something to offend everyone and something to affirm everyone. So if you keep that in mind, just about everything that is of any consequence as a book is going to make someone angry, and someone else is going to love it. So this one, which you probably read in high school, Great Gatsby, published by F. Scott Fitzgerald back in 1925, was about someone who made his fortune illegally. That might offend somebody. There are extramarital affairs going on. And, well, also, you know, there's the suggestion of organized crime, things like that. And basically, though, the thing that's going to make it memorable, and that has been the reason for people reading it year after year, is that it is among the novels that's considered impossible for the great American novel. It's certainly about one form of the American dream. And one reason I love it is because it's such an amazing portrayal of that time, the Roaring Twenties in America. It has wonderful character development and beautiful poetic description. That's enough reason to read it, whatever you may think about it and its controversies. Okay, another one. You may have read this too, 1984 by George Orwell. I did not read this until long after I had been an adult. And I think, as with Great Gatsby, depending on when you read it in your life, it may mean something a little different to you. I think all of these are good to read when you're young, and later again, and see how it hits you. This kind of blew my mind, and I was, I'd say not quite 30 when I read it. I was already a librarian, but a very young librarian. And, you know, you've heard things about lately, there are t-shirts that say, I miss when 1984 was fiction. It's a kind of thing that's going to offend people and get other people talking. You know, what's interesting is, why was it banned? It was banned in the former Soviet Union because it was considered anti-communism by them. It was banned in a lot of places in America because some people thought it was pro-communism, so isn't that interesting? It is about a totalitarian, possible future, what we now call dystopian society, with the idea that everything you do, say, think is being monitored and judged, and you are probably going to get it if you don't believe, if what you believe isn't in keeping with the people who are in charge. Okay, well, we certainly know everybody's being monitored these days, but we're all monitoring each other. So it's, again, food for thought. Very good, again, character development, wonderful place of wonderful sense of setting, and wonderful description, and it just is all too possible these days. So, gonna offend somebody, gonna affirm a lot of people. No matter what you think of it, you sure are gonna remember it.
Hi, I'm Roger Kunis, library assistant here at Scottsdale Public Library in the youth department, and my favorite banned book, in fact the only banned book I may have read through cover to cover, was an assignment back in, what was it, middle school, like years ago, 50, maybe almost 60 years ago, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. And the book was a shocker because it had a word in there that just never came upon before, the N word. And it's just exclusively used. And there was all sorts of language in there that never really heard, or situations that I couldn't even imagine growing up as a kid in Milwaukee, in a nice part of town. And the book itself was funny. Mark Twain is a great comedy writer and just an analyzer of the current situations. And this book is, in a way, kind of as timely now as it was way back when, because some of that, the feeling there and the hatred and treatment of other people is still going on now, and we're still trying to fight it. And kudos to Mark Twain and the library and showing some of the banned books, banned for all sorts of reasons, not too good, but books worth checking out. Advise you do.
Hi, my name's Colleen, and I'm a library assistant here at the Scottsdale Public Library, and my favorite banned book is actually a book of poetry called Howl by Allen Ginsberg. This book spawned a trial in regards to whether this was artistic and worth literary merit, or if it was obscenity. And in 1957, a judge ruled that this was literary expression, and it paved the way for other poet, writers, and other artists to not be censored in their expression of their life.
Hi, my name's Alexis. I'm a youth services library assistant here at Scottsdale Public Library, and my favorite banned book for Banned Book Week is The Giver by Lois Lowry. Now, I know for most kids, it's not that they don't love reading, it's just that they haven't found that book that turns them into a reader. And for me, this was that book. This was the first book I ever read cover to cover in one sitting. It's the first book I ever got in trouble for reading at school. And I was totally fascinated and captivated by this utopian dystopia that was so different from anything that I had ever even conceived of in my short life. I was in 6th grade when this book turned me into a voracious reader.
This, Harry Potter, is my favorite banned book. And it was actually the first series that just lit that fire within me. It was also the first series that I had someone close to me not want it to be read because of witchcraft, which is what they're afraid of. But really, it's a fantastic story of friendship and the power of love. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Wow, those were some great book recommendations if you haven't read those banned books before.
And next we have Michelle, who's going to tell us all about our library card sign-up campaign.
Scottsdale Public Library is launching a card campaign from September 1st through November 30th. Help us hit our goal of 2,000 new cards. There will be fun surprises along the way for library card holders, so make sure everyone in your family has a library card. If you have a library card already, help us share the love by encouraging your family, friends, and neighbors to get a new card. You can get a card online at our drive-through windows or inside the library. Follow us on social media for details to get your library card today.